The day I learned that nothing comes free. Hello, everyone. Have you ever wished life could be easier? Have you ever looked at successful people and thought, they are lucky, everything seems so easy for them? I used to think the same way. I believed that some people were simply born with better opportunities. I thought success came naturally to them. I thought they had an easier life than everyone else. But one ordinary year completely changed the way I looked at life. Today, I want to tell you that story. It isn't a story about becoming rich overnight. It isn't a story about winning the lottery. It isn't a story about becoming famous. It's simply the story of how I learned that nothing comes free in this world. A few years ago, I had just finished my studies. Like many young people, I had big dreams. I wanted a good job. I wanted to earn my own money. I wanted to help my family. And of course, I wanted a comfortable life. Whenever I saw people driving nice cars or wearing expensive clothes, I thought they were lucky. I never thought about how many years they had worked. I never thought about the sacrifices they had made. I only saw the result, not the journey. At that time, I spent most of my days at home. Every morning, I woke up late. I checked my phone. I watched videos. Sometimes I searched for jobs online, but after a few minutes I felt tired. The job descriptions looked difficult. Some required experience. Some required skills I didn't have. Some offered very little salary. I always found a reason not to apply. Deep inside, I hoped the perfect job would somehow appear. Days slowly became weeks. Weeks became months. Nothing changed. One evening, my mother quietly asked me, "Did you apply for any jobs today?" I looked down and softly answered, "Not yet." She didn't get angry. She simply smiled and said, "Good things take effort." At that moment, I didn't really understand what she meant. I thought she was just encouraging me. The next morning, I decided to visit a nearby shopping mall because one of the stores had placed a sign outside. Now hiring! I felt excited. Maybe this was my chance. I walked into the store with my resume in my hand. The manager greeted me politely. He asked me a few simple questions. Then he smiled kindly and said, "We'll call you if you're selected." I left the store feeling hopeful. For the next few days, I kept checking my phone. Every time it rang, I thought it might be the manager. But the call never came. A week later, I realized I hadn't been selected. I felt disappointed. On the way home, I saw a small cafe. A young man around my age was cleaning tables. He looked busy. Customers kept coming in. He greeted everyone with a smile. As I watched him, I suddenly remembered something. When we were in school, he wasn't the top student. He wasn't the most talented person either. But there he was, working hard, learning, earning money, while I was still waiting for the perfect opportunity. That evening, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Maybe success wasn't about luck. Maybe it was about showing up every single day. The next morning, I made a small promise to myself. Instead of waiting for the perfect job, I would apply for every job that matched my abilities. Even if I got rejected, even if the salary wasn't perfect, even if I felt nervous. I started waking up early. I updated my resume. I practiced answering interview questions. I watched videos to improve my English. A few weeks later, I received a phone call. The manager from a small retail store asked if I was still looking for a job. I quickly answered, "Yes, I am." He invited me for another interview. This time, I felt different. I wasn't expecting a miracle. I was simply ready to do my best. The interview lasted only 15 minutes. The manager asked about my availability, my attitude toward customers, and whether I was willing to learn. At the end, he smiled and said, "Can you start on Monday?" For a moment, I couldn't believe what I had heard. I finally had my first job. When I reached home, I shared the good news with my family. My mother smiled with happiness. She didn't say much. She simply said, "I'm proud of you." Those 4 words meant more to me than I can explain. On my first day at work, I arrived 30 minutes early. I was nervous. Everything was new. The store was larger than I expected. My manager introduced me to my coworkers. Everyone seemed busy. I thought the job would be easy. I was wrong. There were shelves to organize, customers asking questions, products to arrange, prices to check. The day passed so quickly that I hardly looked at the clock. When I got home that evening, I was exhausted. My feet hurt. My back hurt. I lay on my bed and thought, so this is what working every day feels like. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. I was still tired. For a second, I wanted to stay in bed, but I remembered something. I had asked for this opportunity. Now it was my responsibility to keep it. As the weeks passed, I started learning new things. I learned how to speak politely with customers. I learned how to stay calm when someone was unhappy. I learned that every coworker had their own struggles, even if they smiled all day. One afternoon, an elderly customer entered the store. She was looking for a simple household item but couldn't find it. I stopped what I was doing and helped her. She thanked me with a warm smile. Before leaving, she said, "You were very kind. Thank you for your patience." Those words stayed with me for the rest of the day. I realized something important. My job wasn't only about earning money. It was also about helping people. Not every day was easy. Sometimes customers complained. Sometimes I made mistakes. Once I entered the wrong price into the system. Another time I forgot to restock a shelf. I felt embarrassed. I expected my manager to become angry. Instead, he said, "Mistakes are normal. Just don't make the same mistake twice." That sentence changed the way I looked at failure. Instead of being afraid of mistakes, I started learning from them. Every week I became a little faster, a little more confident, a little more responsible. Then, one evening, I received my first salary. It wasn't a huge amount, but when I looked at the money, I smiled. For the first time, I truly understood its value. Every hour, every task, every moment of hard work, it was all inside that. Months passed, and my work slowly became easier. The tasks that once felt difficult became part of my daily routine. I no longer felt nervous when customers asked questions. I had learned how to solve problems calmly. I had learned how to manage my time. Most importantly, I had learned to believe in myself. One afternoon, my manager called me into his office. For a moment, I wondered if I had made another mistake. Instead, he smiled. "I've been watching your work," he said. "You've improved a lot since your first day. You arrive on time, you treat customers with respect, and you're always willing to learn." Hearing those words made me smile. Then he continued, "Starting next month, you'll have more responsibilities. And yes, your salary will also increase." I thanked him sincerely. It wasn't a huge promotion. It wasn't a life-changing amount of money. But to me, it meant everything. It showed me that hard work doesn't always bring instant results. Sometimes it takes weeks. Sometimes it takes months. But if you stay patient and keep improving, people notice. That evening, I walked home instead of taking the bus. The weather was pleasant. As I walked, I thought about the person I used to be, the person who waited for the perfect opportunity, the person who believed successful people were simply lucky. Now I knew the truth. Behind every success is a story that most people never see. The early mornings, the failures, the long hours, the self-doubt, the small improvements, the sacrifices. Success isn't free. Confidence isn't free. Respect isn't free. Everything valuable asks for something in return. Usually that price is time, effort, patience, and consistency. A few days later, I met an old school friend. We sat together and talked about life. He asked me, "You're doing well now, what's your secret?" I smiled. "There isn't one." He looked surprised. I continued. "I stopped waiting for life to become easy. I started working, learning, and improving one day at a time." For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. Then he nodded quietly. I think he understood exactly what I meant. Looking back now, I'm actually thankful for all the rejections I faced. If I had received the first job I applied for, maybe I would never have changed. Maybe I would never have learned discipline. Maybe I would never have appreciated the value of honest work. Life has a strange way of teaching us. Sometimes the lessons are difficult. Sometimes they're slow. But they always help us grow. Today, whenever I see someone successful, I no longer think, "They're just lucky." Instead, I wonder, what did they sacrifice to get there? Because every achievement has a story. Every dream has a price. And every step forward begins with a decision to keep going. That is why I truly believe nothing comes free in this world. If you want knowledge, you must spend time learning. If you want confidence, you must face your fears. If you want success, you must be willing to work for it. There are no shortcuts that last forever. The small efforts you make today become the success you enjoy tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminded you that progress is more important than perfection. Keep learning, keep improving, and never stop believing in yourself. I'll see you in the next story. Take care.